Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I'm your host, Chance Pitts, and I would like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys, if you're new to the show, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we've had some numbers pop up and increase here, so thank you to everyone who is sharing the show. And guys, and that's the rule we have here. If you receive value from the podcast, please make sure that you share whatever episode you receive that value in with other people who might be able to receive the same kind of value. We want to grow and we want to reach the most amount of people so that we can help the greatest amount of people. Also, another way you can do that is by liking, subscribing, leaving us a rating or review on whatever platform you find yourself listening on, guys. That's just going to help us pop up a little bit earlier in the listing whenever people search for personal development and self-help podcasts. And like I said, guys, that's how we reach more people and help more people. Another way you can keep up with us, guys, and just be involved with us, let us know how we're doing, maybe pitch us some topics that you need us to discuss or want us to discuss, is by checking us out on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're very active on those platforms, guys, so don't hesitate to reach out. I wanted to share a little bit with y'all, guys. We had a great weekend as well. Friday, we went up to Central Texas, back to my hometown for the Go Texan fundraiser at the county level for Falls County. We were able to play a little bit of music up there. We've been doing that the past 3 or 4 years or so, and had a great time doing so. The organization raised a ton of money for scholarships for kids in Falls County. It was great to see. I actually received a scholarship back in high school from that association as well, so it was really cool to be a part of that on the other side of it now, helping to give back and helping to serve the community. Then my dad actually stayed up there and ran a 5K the next morning, and he took first place, guys. He killed it. He did a great job. So congratulations to him. Super proud. The wife and I were not able to participate in that 5K, but we ran down to Divine down here. There was a fundraising event going on the next day. A little girl in the community was actually diagnosed with AT and has been fighting that fight. And there was a great community event down here to help raise some funds to go towards her trust and to go towards the research of AT and the treatment. So it was really cool to be involved in that, to see the community involved in that, the huge amount of people that came together to support that young lady. And it was phenomenal to see, guys. It's a fantastic thing to be a part of. Of course, there was a 2-mile fun run over there too. My wife and I both ran it. She was actually able to take 5th overall, winning the female division in first place. And then I was able to win first overall. Just had a good time that morning running and then sticking around and bidding on some silent auction items, eating some great food, and then just helping support a fantastic cause. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of great stuff we were involved in. And then we rounded out the weekend today by going to the lake with some family friends, did some tubing, did some wakeboarding, knee boarding, all that fun stuff. So definitely sore, definitely have some congestion going on. So if you're hearing that, that's what it's from. Getting plenty of lake water shot up my nose from biting the dust out there, or I guess eating water. But guys, the important thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about today is a topic that I've had a lot of trouble with in my life. It's something I've struggled with on different fronts, receiving, giving, fully wrapping my head around and understanding. And that topic is forgiveness, guys. So I think the 3 main topics within forgiveness that we have to look at and that a lot of us tend to struggle with, each and every single one of them. Whenever we start to break them down, those topics become seeking forgiveness from others, giving forgiveness to others, and then arguably the most important thing, in my opinion, as we move through this development journey, which is forgiving ourselves. Guys, I wanted to pitch a little quote out here just to keep in mind in the back of the head as we move through this, and this is going to be by Lewis B. Smedes. So it is, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that that prisoner is you. And what he's trying to say there, guys, is by giving forgiveness, you set yourself free. You are doing it for yourself because that thing that you forgave the person for no longer has any power over you. And guys, just kind of a little segue into it, a little story to share with y'all. I think this is something everybody can relate to, going back to their hometown and visiting or being around people you haven't seen in a while. A lot of people tend to hold you to the same standard or have the same belief system associated with you as they did whenever they saw you all that time ago. Now, I haven't really been back to my hometown permanently since I was 18. I'm now 26. A lot of people haven't seen me much in the past 8 years. So they really associate most of the things they think about me from that 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that made a lot of bad and dumb decisions. Guys, I've talked about it on the podcast several different times. I used to lie. I used to somewhat steal, cheat. I broke trust with a lot of people. I devalued myself in a lot of different ways from the decisions and the actions that I did down there. And then there's been times, guys, when I genuinely just wasn't there for people who needed me to be there for them. And while those are all things that I regret, whether they were intentional or unintentional, I can't do anything to go back and change those things, guys. But whenever I go back, I see how those decisions and how the forgiveness kind of flowchart of everything in my community back there works. I see that there's some people who have forgiven me for the stupid things that I've done. They understand I was a kid. They understand I've changed and I'm a completely different person now. I'm an adult who's responsible for his actions and tries to be the best person that he can be on a regular basis. There's also people that won't give me the time of day. They won't talk to me. They ignore me. They talk to my friends, my family, everyone else, but they intentionally go out of their way to make sure that I know I'm being ignored. And I understand that they have grudges. They have a lot of emotional time. They have a lot of whatever you want to call it. They've invested a lot of time dealing with other people, dealing with my old BS, or dealing with it personally themselves. And I understand that they're going to hold a grudge and they're going to let that have power over them, and they're going to let it bother them. And that's okay. That's part of the forgiveness thing as well. And then, guys, within that, just seeing some of the boneheaded things I've done, just laying there in bed at night, you think about a lot of the stupid things you did whenever you were a kid. You don't forgive yourself right off the bat. You see these things whenever you go back and you're just constantly hit with reminders of, man, I did some stupid stuff. I made some bad mistakes. But I really got into that topic to give you kind of a general overview and to make you start thinking about maybe some of the things in your life that you're struggling with forgiveness, whether it's giving it, receiving it, or just giving it to yourself. As we start to talk about these subjects within forgiveness, I want you to start thinking about some of the things. Get the creative juices flowing in your mind. Think about the things that you've been wronged with. Maybe it was your boss back home. Maybe it was some friends that betrayed you back home. Maybe it was the girlfriend that cheated on you, the boyfriend that cheated on you, or maybe the boyfriend or girlfriend you cheated on. Maybe it was the parents that were young and made mistakes and screwed up, or maybe it's the parents that still continue to make mistakes and you haven't been able to forgive them, or they haven't been able to forgive you for something you did to them. There's a million different scenarios and they're all applicable, guys, but keep those, whatever it is, in your mind as we start to move through this forgiveness. So the 3 topics I talked about wanting to get into, guys, were seeking forgiveness from others, giving forgiveness to others, and then forgiving ourselves as well. So, starting off with the first one, seeking forgiveness from others. Guys, I think as we look into seeking forgiveness, the most important thing that we can do as we look for that forgiveness from others is to genuinely regret or be sorry for the actions that we did. We have to genuinely understand that, hey, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I am sorry for that. And it has to be wholeheartedly honest that you truly understand that you made a mistake, that you truly feel bad, and that you want there to be some kind of other outcome besides what you caused, whether it was intentional or unintentional. Then, guys, moving on from there, I think we've got to really understand the scope of the mistake that we made. We've got to understand the gravity of the situation. We've got to understand the time commitment involved in our screw-ups. We've got to understand the emotional commitment involved in our screw-ups and understand that while it might not have been a big deal for us, while the things I did whenever I was 17 might not be a big deal to me now at 28 or 26, I should say. That's still a big deal to some people. It impacted their family members. It impacted them in a very negative way, and they're going to have a negative connotation around my name for the rest of my life. And that's something I'm going to have to deal with, but I should really try to evaluate and understand what my mistakes, what my screw-ups, what my bad decisions meant to them as I try to seek out that forgiveness. Then, guys, along with that, I think there has to be a genuine desire to do better. If I found myself in that situation again, I know that I would make a different decision. I would do something different. I would work that situation to where I did the right thing rather than slipping up and making a mistake, guys. Because that's almost as important whenever you're seeking forgiveness, is to genuinely be a different kind of person, to have learned from that situation, to not have the same stupid desires or the same stupid outcome be what happens at the end of that situation. Because what is forgiveness if you forgive someone and then it just comes back and happens just like it did last time? It's going to be much harder to forgive. You're going to find yourself in a situation that just seems somewhat repetitive. Then, guys, as you look to seek forgiveness from others, you've got to understand that people aren't always going to be ready to give you that forgiveness when you want it or when you feel like you need it. You've got to understand that your actions actually have weight to them, that people are impacted by the things that you do. And there's sometimes people are never going to be able to forgive. But remember, guys, forgiveness is based for that person. So that situation is going to have a lot of power over whoever it is. And I'll talk a little bit more about it, but guys, that's where our third topic that we'll get into, forgiving ourselves, comes into play. So then, guys, I wanted to dive in a little bit to our second topic, which was giving forgiveness to others. And this is something, like we said in that quote, guys, you are setting the prisoner free. The prisoner is yourself whenever you can forgive someone else for the actions that they did against you. And remember, guys, these can be intentional or unintentional. But whatever it is, you are removing the power that that situation has over you. So, guys, number one within that, you must not care if the other person is truly sorry for what they did. And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, guys, because we want to make sure that people know that they screwed up. We want people to know that they negatively impacted us. And while, yes, I understand that, you're not giving forgiveness for them. You're doing it for yourself. We talked about that several different times. We've repeated it over and over, but it's so true. You're removing the power that they have over you in the action that they took. And guys, what I'm talking about here is if somebody does something wrong and you know they're going to do something wrong again, you know they're going to repeat it, you got to take the power away. You've got to forgive them and take the power away. Remove yourself from that situation. Don't let it happen again. Don't allow that to be something that continually happens in your life. That's part of forgiveness as well. I forgive you, but that doesn't make it fully okay. That doesn't make it something I'm going to associate myself with long term. It doesn't make it something that I'm going to allow to continue. You've got to make that decision for yourself, and you've got to give forgiveness in a way that helps you, sets you free from the thing that is causing you some kind of negative effect. Then, guys, you've also got to understand that there is a reason behind the other person's actions. You've got to understand that reason to know if that's something you need to have in your life. Now, forgiveness is key. Forgiveness is important because you are setting yourself free. But like we talked about, you need to know if that's a situation you want to continue to put yourself in. You want to know if that's something that's going to continually be a problem for you, if you're going to have to keep forgiving that over and over, because then forgiveness becomes a very blurred place, guys. So you've got to understand the actions and the reasons why they did what they did. Then, guys, I think, in my opinion, that you have to give forgiveness with honest and open constructive criticism in some ways. You have to let people know, and they have to fully understand the gravity of the situation. They've got to understand how it impacted you. They've got to understand why they had to seek forgiveness and why it upset you. Because that's something that's going to help them prevent causing the same kind of issues going forward. Because if we aren't open and honest with those things, it's going to be that much easier for that to happen again. Communication is key. That's a driving factor and a continued thing that we talk about over and over and over, how important communication is. And if we communicate openly about how to prevent that action from happening again, how to make that situation right and continue to move forward in a progressive way, then we can avoid this whole route of forgiveness again. We can remove the power those situations have over both people in the situation. And then, guys, like I said, just to drive home the point so much more and to say how important it is, you are not forgiving the other person for them. You're not doing it to set them free. You're not doing it to account for the actions that they did, to reconcile any actions that they took. You are doing it for yourself, guys. You're doing it to remove the power that other person had over you in the situation with the choices that they made. Guys, I alluded to it in the first one that we talked about in seeking forgiveness from others, in the last point of knowing that people aren't always going to forgive you. This is where number 3 comes in. So important, guys. This is one I've had to deal with and learn about through my personal development journey. And honestly, it is a huge key in being able to progress and to be able to develop. And that is, guys, learning to forgive yourself. Now, first and foremost, the number 1 rule, in my opinion, for forgiving yourself is it can't be the easy way out. You can't be forgiving yourself because you want to take the easy road. You don't want to actually have to deal with the reconciliation of the actions you took. You don't want to have that tough conversation with someone. You don't have to try to make a situation right so you forgive yourself. No, that's not what this is at all, guys. It is genuinely forgiving yourself for the things that you did because you now understand that you are better, guys. You have to understand that you've changed and that you've constructively moved in a positive direction away from those actions that you would have committed in the past. Guys, that is the overall goal here. You are hoping to develop. You're hoping to not be the kind of person that makes those mistakes anymore, that has those slip-ups and does those kinds of things. So if you're genuinely forgiving yourself, you have to understand that you're not going to do those things again, that you're not going to make those mistakes, and that you're going to be the kind of person that you say you are going to be as you learn to forgive yourself. Then, guys, you're going to have to understand that even with all this self-forgiveness, even with being able to account for some of the things that keep you up at night, you know, those boneheaded things that we did, the things that we think about at 3 a.m. when we can't sleep or can't go back to sleep and we're just like, wow, I was an idiot back then. I can't believe I did that. Those things are going to happen again. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do intentional and unintentional things to other people. It's going to bother them. You're going to have to seek forgiveness. And then you're going to have to forgive yourself. That is part of the development process. It's part of growing up. You're going to make mistakes, continuing making mistakes. And guys, that's okay. Learn to forgive yourself whenever you make those mistakes, but don't make the same ones twice. Then, guys, understand that forgiving yourself might just be the final ingredient in you being able to develop. Remember, guys, we often handcuff ourselves thinking about past actions and the results. We think about the mistakes that we make all the time more than anything else. We are so hard on ourselves that it stops progression a lot of times, guys. We think about the mistakes we made. We think about the embarrassment we caused for ourselves. We think about the time things didn't fall our way. And we let that stop us from trying to take action, from trying to get better, from trying to do that diet, from trying to lose the weight, to go work out, to advance in our careers. Whatever wall we've hit, the embarrassment, the time we've come short, we let that be impacted so much. So, guys, you're still learning. You're still developing. You're going to make mistakes. Every single time you show up, you got to understand there's a chance of failure, but that's okay. You get another shot at it. But when you do fail, forgive yourself. I'm not saying to be okay with the failure, to be okay with staying in that spot. Don't do that. But forgive yourself. Understand that you can learn from it and that you can progress and that you can continue to move yourself in the right direction through that self-forgiveness. And guys, we know that forgiveness is forever going to be this big, tricky thing that no one fully understands, that no one always does right. But I think there's some helpful tricks and helpful tips and helpful understanding that we can bring out of this episode. And if you're like me, guys, you're going to struggle with this for a very long time. But you can also understand the importance of forgiveness from every single side, and that you have to find it, guys. You have to find it, and you have to give it in all shapes and sizes. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, but it's important to know that with forgiveness, you're removing power that your previous mistakes have over you. And when you remove the power that those mistakes have over you, you gain that power back, and you can now move your life in the positive direction that you want it to go. Guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Next in Line podcast. As always, check us out on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Leave us a rating, a review. Share the episode with someone who might receive value from it. And guys, always be prepared for whatever is next in line.